Welcome back to the third iteration of the Superfan Showdown. We're talking about the game once again, one of the best games that exists anywhere, not just college football, one of the best rivalries in the entire country. We're talking Michigan, we're talking Ohio State. And if you've been a follower of the channel for a while now, you've seen this come out the last couple of years. Like I said, third iteration. So super excited for this, super excited for everything that we have going on. Today, joined again by Teddy Moore, Michigan Superfan, Joe from Longview, the Ohio State Superfan. And guys, this one is going to be a lot of fun. A little bit of a different tone to this year's game, maybe just a little bit different than what we've seen in the last couple of years. But kind of want to open it up to both of you guys for kind of just something opening statements, maybe a little bit of trash talk off the front end. I guess we'll lean towards the defending national champs first. I'll give the floor to Teddy to maybe make an opening statement, say something right off the bat, just whatever's on your mind about this Michigan football team.
Well, Garrett, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. I mean, look, it's definitely not the season that I had or probably any Michigan fan saw going into the season, right? But it happens when you win a championship, right? Everyone wants to leave, or maybe those guys that didn't seem to have playing time that potentially could have been in the starting role next year was like, nah, I'm out and transfer out. It is what it is. It happens. Unfortunately, that's just how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And I will say this, though. Whatever happens this year, whoever wins, right, all I'm going to say is it took Ohio State $20 million to beat Michigan finally. That's all I'm going to
say. That's great. I mean, look, and it's valid, right? You're allowed to spend that money now in today's college football. So that's what you need. Spend your money, right? If you got it, might as well spend it, right? Joe, anything, kind of opening up for you? Obviously, Ohio State having the better season to this point. But yeah, just kind of checking in with you guys. How's Ohio State feeling going into this one?
Well, thanks for having me on, Garrett. I love the 20 million cheap shot. I've heard that a couple times this year. But I would say, how much did you have to pay that Michigan quarterback to stay in state? You had to shell out some pretty penny for that. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling confident because there really is no reason we should lose this game. I mean, if you look at the team's stats on paper, the eye test, there is no reason on earth that Michigan should win this game. But I'm excited for the game because anything can happen. You can play spoilers. You got to be ready. You can't look ahead. It is everybody is going to bring their best. They're going to get ready to get punched in the face. And I know Michigan has nothing to lose in this game. So they're going to come out firing too. So I'm excited. There's some slight nerves after the last couple of years. You can't sleep on anybody. But I'm pretty confident with this roster, this $20 million roster.
Definitely true. And you mentioned Bryce Underwood, and I'll go ahead and shout him out real quick. Bryce Underwood, I don't know if you guys saw his commitment video, but being able to go back to some of his junior high days and seeing him, kind of make his statement, I'm going to bring my talents to Michigan Wolverines, getting to kind of play off of that and then cut straight to the highlight reel. I thought that was pretty sick. I'm not going to lie. I know they had to pay him probably all the money that they could find, but look, at the end of the day, you got him to stay home. And that's modern college football. And it's probably a good thing they got to pay him to stay home because Teddy, I'll kind of turn to you with this one. Man, Michigan's had some issues this year, right? Obviously, you get the banner, flags fly forever. We love that, but yeah, it's been a rough year, and it's tough to kind of look and figure out what the problem is. I know obviously this is a post Harbaugh situation. New first time head coach, lots of talent walked out the door, goes off to the NFL. Kind of curious to think, where are y'all at this year as a Michigan fan base, right? How are you feeling? I know you went up there, got to go to a game, so that's kind of an awesome moment. What did you feel when you're up there? How are the Michigan fans taking this year, as rough as it's been, given the fact that, yeah, it's coming off of a championship season?
It's interesting you say that, but first of all, just nothing beats a Saturday afternoon in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was probably one of the greatest days of my life and definitely ranked up there for sure. But honestly, walking around there, you would not think that the team was doing that bad. I mean, it was just everyone's in a good mood. I was smiling. We're not talking about how down of the year it is or how our quarterback room is just straight garbage at this point. But hey, I guess that's what winning a national championship does for you, right? It brings those like, okay, we have the pieces and it's gonna just keep growing from here. We're obviously gonna have growing pains, and I think that's what we're experiencing right now. I think signing Bryce was just the key move that needed to happen, because then we started seeing some more of these 4 stars trickling in, and now signing with Michigan and more receivers and more DBs, call whatever, it's one of those things. If you sign, they will come. And I think now that they saw that Bryce signed with us and like, oh yeah, I want to go play for that generational talent quarterback, and let's go win a few more national championships while you're at it. So I think it's just having these growing pains is what was expected. Was it expected to be this bad? Or definitely not. But it's funny I say that, because my dad and I we were talking a few weeks back, and I was like, is it just me, Dad, or is this kind of giving you like Rich Rod era feelings or Brady Hoke era feelings, like just a quarterback revolving door of the quarterback room and just not really knowing what our identity is, unfortunately. The only thing we can really hang our hat on is that the defense has been somewhat good for sometimes, for the most part of the season. I mean, last when they played Indiana, it was the final was 15-20, and I think Indiana was, after playing Ohio State last week, shows I think they were kind of a fraud team. So how good is Indiana, or how good is Michigan's defense, right? I guess this was just one of those $1 million questions. But all eyes are to this Saturday, and then after this Saturday, it's to the bowl, and then it's okay. Let's truly start rebuilding. Let's get these key players in, and it's on to the future.
Yeah, definitely right about the offensive struggles, Teddy. 23 points per game right now, ranks 108th in the country. That just frankly ain't going to get it done. And kind of looking through some of what you were talking about, man, Michigan has passed for 1,500 yards as a team this year. That is several contributors, including Donovan Edwards, who's passed for a good 23 to add to that chunk. So hadn't run as well as we probably expect them to. That's probably the thing that shocked me the most, is the complete disappearance of Donovan Edwards. Obviously y'all are hoping for him to kind of show back up and appear for the game, which he's made a habit of doing. Joe, kind of turning to you, Michigan's in the middle of their rebuild. Ohio State, though, back in familiar territory, right? This is where Ohio State's been, either undefeated, maybe the one loss going into the end of the season. That they've been here before. And frankly, I mean, they've been playing really well, right? They've got the 10th best scoring offense, 37 points a game. The number one scoring defense in the country, only giving up 10.7. And look, they're, full steam ahead, going towards the playoff, going towards the Big Ten championship game. Everything looks to be going their way. I'm going to have to get that rematch with Oregon probably out of the way. But look, outside of that, there's a lot to look forward to for Ohio State. There's a lot to kind of, think that, hey, this team could maybe get it done this year. A lot of improvements, but still this game hasn't really gone y'all's way since the pre-COVID era, right? We still haven't had a win for Ohio State in this game since before the coronavirus popped onto the scene. I know your head's probably telling you we got no issues here, but what's the heart saying, Joe? Like, where's the ticker going into rivalry week?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. There's, you alluded a lot to the expectations, and the expectations of this season have been national title or bust. Much like Michigan put all the chips in last year of saying, we got to get it done this year. This is it. And you're seeing the reason why this year. Ohio State's in the same boat. So many seniors came back. They added some awesome pieces to the equation. Will Howard, say what you want about Will Howard, but I mean, he's the leader that this team needed last year that wasn't there. And he's other than the Oregon game, he could be a Heisman contender with the stats that he has. So I think obviously the expectations now are bust. Nobody in Ohio State's locker room right now is thinking about that. They're only thinking about Saturday. Because if they don't get it done Saturday, there was the game this year with Penn State and Ryan Day and James Franklin, and the legacy game. And I'm glad James Franklin had to endure that one after that. But really the game that Ryan Day has kept him, the team and the game that's kept him up at night the last 3 years, has been Michigan, and he will do whatever it takes in his power to leave with a victory, whether that's a 30-point win or a 1-point win. Like the season will be made or break on this game. I think there should be, like I said at the jump, should be no reason we lose this game unless we beat ourselves. So I think they're going to come in confident. They're going to come in ready to play, not looking ahead to anything. And I think you're going to see Will Howard have a big game. You're going to see these receivers have a big game. You're going to see the running backs have a big game. And the defense is going to have a big game too. Pretty much everybody. So I'm excited to party and watch this happen.
You would certainly think that it's going to be a pretty solid game. I want to highlight, you talked about Will Howard for a second, being the leader. Let's not act like he hasn't been pretty dang good this season either. I mean, 74% completions leads college football right now. 26 touchdowns, leads the Big Ten. He's got 2,600 yards plus. He's had a really good season for Ohio State. They haven't needed him as much. They've been able to kind of balance the offense, run the ball fairly effectively at times. And so, they haven't needed him to be that superhero you've needed from Ohio State quarterbacks in the past, but he's doing a great job. He's getting it done. Definitely keeping them in games and making the plays when he needs to. Obviously, kind of going back over to Teddy for a second, not the case for Michigan quarterbacks, right? We talked a little bit about that, right? Michigan struggling on offense. They're going to have to find something, right? They're going up against a very good Ohio State defense. Offensive woes for Michigan this year have been, numerous. Is it as easy as just, hey, everybody left, it's time to rebuild and get some new guys in here? Is it schematic? Is it coaching? Is there anything that you think that they can fix going into this game that'll give them a real chance to hang around?
I mean, is there anything that needs to fix? I mean, yeah, I can give you a laundry list of things that needs to be fixed, right? I think it's just, we've seen throughout this season, they haven't shown shades of greatness, right? It's just been a game here or a game there. They need to somehow muster all their strength up and come together and play 4 quarters of great football. It's just, you got to go to work. You got to put on the hard hat, and they got to get work done. All right. That's the only thing that needs to do. Okay. You got to walk in there. You got to walk into Columbus. We can beat them. We've beaten them in Columbus before, but hey, got to go to work. Let's put on our hard hats.
Let's build something together, right? Let's. I love that. I love the props.
Exactly.
We got to get more props in on this. Fantastic. Yeah. No. I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that. That was so cool. No, Joe. Let's kind of turn it back over there. Ohio State, very impressive both sides of the ball, right? Not necessarily anything to really fix going into this game, but I kind of want to gauge where your confidence is, not just for this game, but help me look ahead a little bit for Ohio State, right? Looking at that rematch with Oregon coming up, probably, most likely that's what happens in the Big Ten championship game. If you get that, you get a bye week. Otherwise, you're probably hosting a playoff game. What's the confidence going into this for an actual championship run? Do you think this team has what it takes to win it all? Are there things that you're looking at in terms of, maybe weaknesses that you've seen, saying, okay, well, that's maybe okay for the average game, but that's not going to work against a team like, I don't know, pick your poison. Oregon, again, you could talk about, a team like, Tennessee, Miami, SMU, someone else that kind of factors into the top here. Georgia, could be a team. Texas could be a team. Lots of teams factoring in this playoff race. Is there anything that maybe makes you a little bit nervous, gives you, cause for pause when it comes to the championship run that Ohio State's looking in the mirror at?
First, I want to say, Teddy, I love the prop. I think the Michigan thinks they're going to go build a pretty substantial structure, but you're putting the hard hat to hold the sign that says slow or stop as cars are going by. That's where they're going to work. They're the sign guy. Oh, it's gone.
Might have dropped him. We'll get him back in a second.
I didn't mean to offend you, Teddy. Sorry. Well, here's what I'll say. Since you're making me look ahead, I don't want to do this right now. If you're making me look ahead, what I think what makes me confident we get past Michigan is playing Oregon at a neutral site. When we lost by 1 to Oregon in Eugene by 1 point, they should have won the game. They had every opportunity to win the game at the end of the game, and they didn't play well, which gives me confidence of like, okay, like the defense got picked apart. Our corners just got shredded that game, and we didn't get to Gabriel, and Gabriel had all day to throw. And that's the thing that gives me cause for pause is that the games where the quarterbacks have had time to throw, they've picked us apart. Now, I'm not worried about that for Michigan. If you give Davis Warren time to throw, he's going to put it into the stands. Okay, I'm not worried about that. But if you give these big time quarterbacks time to throw, it's not going to go well. You saw last week against Indiana, they got to Rourke, he had no time, and our defense just stifled him. I feel good even if we get to Indianapolis and lose to Oregon again. I feel like we get the 5 seed still as the top bye. So regardless, you either want the 1 seed, and then I think the loser of that game is going to get the 5 seed. So I think the 5 seed is kind of that sweet spot of you can make a run, getting matched up with somebody, hopefully that's a 12 seed. I mean, obviously, if it's Boise, you don't want to have to face Genty, but like
that's no small task. Yeah,
I'd rather face Boise round 1 than Texas or somebody,
sure.
somebody like a juggernaut. So I feel good. And here's another thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is the depth. These teams, like, we're playing 3 extra games. And if you're going to get to the end, you're going to have injuries, but you got to have guys that can step up on the back end. And Ohio State's dealing with that right now of like the offensive line. We've just had to like makeshift move people around each game, and it's working okay. But there's going to be a lot of next man up football. And I think the deeper teams are the ones that are going to make it the furthest. So I feel really good about this team. The defense is playing much better. I was a little nervous after the Oregon game, but the defense has been stifling. Caleb Downs is a dude. Just Loveland better be ready, bro, because Downs is going to be just all over him. They're not going to spy the QB this week. It's just going to be boom coming at Caleb Downs. So you're making me look ahead. I don't want to.
Right.
But for the sake of the podcast, those are my thoughts.
Well, and the good news is no matter how much you look ahead, you're not the one coaching the team. So that's, you're allowed to look ahead. You're allowed to think about the next game. Right? I know that you're probably plenty nervous about Thursday, but there's that. Let's talk about Thursday for a second. So right now going into it, Michigan coming in 6-5, Ohio State coming in 10-1, Ohio State the 21-point favorite in this game. Right now the over-under is sat at 42.5. That will be big noon on Fox. We're excited about that, obviously. Looking at some of the advanced analytics, also, kind of doesn't really give Michigan much of a chance in this one. A lot of people kind of leaning real heavy on Ohio State winning this one, something like 15 to 20 points. But we don't play the game on paper. We play the game on the field. Teddy, let's make the case. Okay, it might have to do some stretching right before you do this, right? Because we'll be reaching here maybe. But, if we're feeling warmed up and we're feeling ready for it, make the case. Michigan wins if what?
All right. So, should we get a quick stretch real quick? Because
let's stretch it out.
I wish I had one for you. The only thing I could think of, the only thing I can go off of is that, Ohio State's offensive line is a little beat up. And if there's one shining star on our team this year is that our defensive line has been just monsters like they said they would. You got Mason Graham, big boy, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart coming off the edge. I mean, that's the only thing I can really hang my hat on is that we're gonna need to apply pressure to Will Howard. Unfortunately, we are dealing with some injury bugs as well. Will Johnson is not playing Saturday. Rod Stewart has been out since spring ball, so it's just it's what did Saban say on game day? November, you're either playing for something or playing to ruin someone's November. So I think that's the only thing that we got to hang our hat on is that, we're bowl eligible. All right. Now let's go ruin Ohio State's November. Okay. Let's That's the only thing I can go off of. And then, hey, gotta go to work.
You gotta go to work, right? And yeah, it's a tough task, right? It's tough to kind of make the case right now, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a case to be made that defensive line could cause problems for Will Howard and those boys. It could, kind of get out there and disrupt the game if you keep this one kind of low scoring and a little bit muddy. I think that's where Michigan wants to be. I think Michigan would love it if the final score was something like 17-10 because they like that situation. There's a chance they end up on the positive side of that one, but we're going to flip it over to Joe. Joe, make the case. Ohio State wins if what?
Ohio State wins if they show up. No, I'm kidding. Ohio State wins if they don't turn the ball over. If you look the last 2 years, Kyle McCord had 2 terrible picks last year when we had chances to win the game. If you look at this year, Will Howard has thrown some. He makes one dumb play a game, and it can change some things. I think one of the things that if we're going to win this game, we got to control the line of scrimmage somehow. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we got to be able to run the ball. And I think if Travion and Quinshawn look like they did against Penn State, I think we win pretty easily. And I think Johnson's not playing because he doesn't want to get burnt by our 3 stud receivers, and he wants to have a good draft stock. So he's playing the smart move here. Because I mean, if you look at what Indiana did last week, they double teamed Jeremiah Smith, and we were just thrown to the other 2 guys. And like, there's no if Will Howard has time, it's going to be a wrap. So look for Caleb Downs to have a big game. He's going to be just on a heat-seeking missile for Loveland and Warren and all the other guys. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the game. I think we win if we just don't beat ourselves. So
good chance that's the way that this one ends up working out. It's hard to make the case for Michigan in this one. Obviously, it's kind of hard to make the case that they'll be able to really stick with Ohio State as well as Ohio State's been playing, right? Ohio State's having a fantastic season. Michigan, obviously, in the middle of a rebuild, right? It's what it is. I don't know if we want to go too in depth on the predictions. We can certainly kind of roundtable this one real quick. In terms of my predictions, I'll give a lot more reasoning for it. But right now, I pick Ohio State, but I wouldn't pick them to cover the 21. I don't think that they'll be able to win by that much in a rivalry game. I do think this one gets a little bit messy. Ohio State could win this game by maybe 2 touchdowns, and I'd feel like that's probably a good number for them to win this one by a couple touchdowns, maybe 13-17, somewhere in there. But that's kind of where I am. I don't know where you guys are leaning on the spread specifically. I don't know if Teddy. I don't know if you're going to pick Michigan outright in this one, but certainly welcome to. But yeah, I don't know. Let's maybe pick against the spread. Do we think Ohio State covers that 21, or do we think Michigan hangs around? I'll start with Teddy.
I mean, Michigan has never been good against the spread, so I'm not going to sit here and say one way or another. But again, it's the game, right? It's always it's either these last couple of years, it's been very close, right? There hasn't been, no one's really ran away with it until fourth quarter. So I think it stays close. I'm going to go with my fandom here, and Michigan is going to shock the world, just like Chris Webber said to do it way back in the 90s, okay? We're going to shock the world Saturday, okay? It may be by 3 points, and maybe by 21 points. I don't care. If I was a betting man, I'd probably hammer the over, though. Sure. That's my 2 cents and gambling advice for you, but don't hold it against me.
Sure. We love that. We love that. We appreciate that. I am going to throw the real quick just disclaimer up there. This is not
yes.
financial advice, just to make sure we're all good. No, we appreciate it. It's, maybe, if you want to bring this one back to Teddy, feel free. I'm not going to officially stand behind that as betting advice. Although I do think the over is probably pretty safe. I would expect more points than that. Even if most of them come from Ohio State, I'd still probably expect more points than 42. Joe, do you think that Ohio State covers this one? You think Ohio State's going to cover the 21 at home?
For pure fandom, I'm going to say we're going to do it. We're just going to – if you watch the Indiana game where they could have taken a knee last week and they decided to run it anyways and get another touchdown, Signetti was a little cocky. these past couple weeks. I think if Ryan Day is ahead in the fourth quarter, he's not letting off the gas.
Sure.
He doesn't want to leave any doubt in his mind. He's not going to play the chess game of like, okay, now we got to be conservative because we're up. No, he is going to be. If you remember in the 2020 season, there was some Big Ten Zoom call. Jim Harbaugh was, griping about something, and Ryan Day says we're going to hang 100 on you this year. Obviously, Michigan didn't play the game,
right?
But I think he still wants to hang 100 on Michigan. So I'm gonna go over. I would do points over, and I would go. I think they cover the spread. They've covered the Indiana spread seemed high, and they covered it.
Yeah.
There was a couple other games this year where the spread seemed pretty high. So I think we go to done. We go to work, and Ryan Day gets carried off the field with the monkey off his back, and then the rest of the fan base gets off his back as well.
Well, and definitely a point to be made there is, we got to think about the Ryan Day aspect of this too, right? He's got some stuff to prove, right? It's been a couple of years. He hadn't beaten Michigan in a little while. He needs to do that. He needs to, maybe even make the case for seeding, right, in the playoff as well, and maybe not win this one close, right? Maybe a close loss gives him an excuse to bump him down to, 6 or 7 whenever they get to the playoff, because, if they don't end up winning the Big Ten championship game, they could scoot a Notre Dame in front of them. They could scoot, maybe a Tennessee or, someone like that in front of them. So really just interesting to see kind of what the committee is going to do with that. But I think if you're Ryan Day, you got to leave no doubt, and you got to do everything you can to make a statement. Try to find a way to make the committee turn you down, right? And obviously the goal is to go win that game and, go win the Big Ten championship, go get yourself the 1 seed and, find yourself into the playoff like that. But, if you're not going to get the 1 seed, you might as well try to, get yourself a 5 or something like that and go play Boise. But all that to be said, that's kind of this iteration. I don't know if there's any closing thoughts, closing statements, anything I want to say on your way out. I'll let you kind of, take your shots on the way out. I'll start with Joe this time since Teddy got to lead off. I'll let Teddy close as well.
I didn't want to throw any cheap shots this go around. I did watch the Signed Steeler documentary on Netflix. It made me hate the team up north even more. And I don't know what Stallions was thinking trying to make that, or we're going to feel sorry for him. It was a very confusing documentary. And, it doesn't put that team up north, doesn't put it past me that they would put behind something like that. So I'm excited. I'm excited that Stallions is coaching high school football now, and excited to go to work this Saturday.
Yeah, Teddy, anything to close out?
I mean, say what you want to say, but it's just like an Ohio State fan to always talk about the past, bring up the past, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm sick of it. Okay? I'm sick of it. Okay? Say what you want to say about Stallions. He got Bryce to sign, okay? I don't care. That man's a legend up there for all I care for. All right? And let's see, Ryan Day, he made that statement back in, 2020 when he said they're going to hang 100 on. And, how well has that worked out for him since then? So I rest my case.
Fair point.
Didn't play that year. They were scared.
They did not play that year. And look, hey, we were all playing for this. We were trying to be safe, right? We didn't want anybody to get sick or any form of COVID injury. It was all COVID, right? We blamed COVID on that one. I'm sure that nobody would point to the other guy and say that they ducked or that they were scared or anything, right? That's right. I mean, is that no? It's all hate in the rivalry game, right? It's obviously going to be just both sides hating each other and looking for any dig they possibly can find, but it's all love on the 3 Tech Pod, and another fantastic super fan showdown. Obviously, guys, if you're watching this one and you liked it, leave a like. Feel free to subscribe as we get the Go Blue towel coming up for Teddy. Teddy's showing up with all the props today, man. Joe's got the hand signs. Teddy's got the helmet and the towels. It's a good day here on the 3 Technique. Guys, go ahead.
It's time to go to work.
This video.
All business this go around. All business.
All good. All good. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this one. Make sure to look out for our main podcast this week. We'll be doing everything rivalry week. So if you haven't seen that, go and find it. It should be coming out Wednesday is when we're going to have that one, just to make sure that everybody can listen to it on their drive to wherever you plan on spending Turkey Day. Give it a listen when you're watching the garbage on Thanksgiving Day. Instead of watching garbage NFL football, you can listen to our podcast and hear about the games to come that are much more fun and entertaining. And instead of watching Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito, of all things, in that middle of the day slide, and man, I'll tell you what, if the turkey doesn't knock me out, that's going to knock me out for sure. But guys, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And until next time, so long, everybody.
Gracious him. How